Next speaker is going to be Hannah Foxwell. She's a director of platform services at VMware Pivotal Labs, and she's going to talk about being the best kind of influence, and that is a bad influence. And she's also going to tell us about the nightmares of working with humans.
Thank you. Sorry I'm late. I was doing my makeup, obviously. No, I was in the wrong Zoom room. I don't know how that happened. Apparently, technology is really hard. Is everything going okay? Can I get a thumbs up from someone? A thumbs up. Awesome. Okay, so good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, in fact. I'm Hannah Foxwell. I am the Director for Platform Services at VMware. I'm not going to talk about platforms today, though. I'm going to talk about people. Most days, I think I'm a pretty good manager. I also know that I can be a bad influence. I'm old enough to have learned some lessons, and I'm young enough to know that I've got so much more to learn. Learning how to manage people is by far the most difficult and the most rewarding part of my job. Humans are complicated creatures, and everyone you manage will need something different from you. I have opinions about good and bad management styles, but at the end of the day, it's not about me. I need to forget about what I need and adapt myself to be something closer to what the other person needs. This is the greatest lesson that I've learned as a manager. It's not about me. Today, I'm going to share a few things that I've got very wrong over the years and what lessons I've learned from those management nightmares. I'll start by telling you a story of my nightmare on 6th Street. For those who don't know Austin, 6th Street is an infamous strip of bars and clubs, the sort of place you'd go for a hen or stag night. I was wearing my new cowboy boots in true Texas style, and I was catching up with my colleagues from all over the world, people I hadn't seen for such a long time. I was having an absolutely awesome night, and I was really enjoying the bourbon. The next slide comes with a content warning, because there's blood. You might want to look away. Those cowboy boots were so slippery, and those cocktails, man, they were so slippery. I don't even remember falling over. I have vague memories of all the blood and the ride in the ambulance. I have memories of wondering how I got there. This picture of me is actually in the emergency room. I'm still wearing my cowboy hat and my cowboy boots, and I'm about to get 5 stitches in my lip. There's no doubt about it. Alcohol can cause problems at team socials. Getting drunk is not a team building activity. There are much better ways to get to know each other. It's absolutely fine to hang out with your mates and enjoy a few drinks. But if you want a big night out with your workmates, you can do that. Just do it with people that you know and trust. Context is everything. That's a lesson that I've learned, especially when there's alcohol involved. You need to ask yourself, who are you with? And is everyone okay? My colleagues should not have had to take me to hospital. They shouldn't have had to go home covered in my blood. They shouldn't have had to look after me, and I shouldn't have to look after them. Thankfully, they did, and I'm really grateful for it. But this is a funny story, and it ended well, but it could have ended a lot worse. It could have been a bit of a traumatic memory for me. I checked out of hospital at 3 a.m. and I was on stage presenting at a conference the next day with my fat lip and my black eye. This says something about me. I'm not quite sure what, but it definitely says something. There is an important lesson here behind this story. Bar staff in Texas do not measure their portions of liquor. No, there's another lesson, a more important one about building inclusive teams. And it's about how you plan inclusive team offsites and socials. One thing that I've changed recently is how I approach team time together. It has to be fun for everyone. It should be fun for the people that don't drink and that do drink. It should be optional to stay out late. You shouldn't be the boring one if you decide to go to bed early. Unfortunately, at the last conference I attended in Boston, I'm ashamed to say that we took a vegan engineer to the best steak restaurant in town. Don't do that. Everyone should be able to sit down and eat together, whether you're vegetarian, vegan, halal, or kosher. You can have your steak another day. I learned these things not as a manager, but as a conference organizer. So I'm one of the organisers of DevOpsDays London, and we put a lot of effort into creating an inclusive and accessible event. As a community event, we want to make sure we remove as many barriers as possible that would prevent people from attending. Ensuring the venue has step-free access, for example, that we cater to a wide variety of dietary requirements, having a code of conduct to help create a safe space. We also do things like provide pronoun stickers, gender-neutral bathrooms, and childcare on site. I've learned so many lessons from the amazing DevOps community, which I've been able to bring back to my role as a manager in an effort to create a more inclusive team. As I said, not everyone wants a big night out. I remember an offsite at work many, many years ago where I was the last person awake at 9 in the evening. 9 o'clock in the evening and everyone had gone to bed. People, we are on expenses, come back to the bar, sit with me. I couldn't believe it. For everyone else, a night away from home was an opportunity for a good night's sleep. They had young children at home. And that was a lot more appealing to them than getting tipsy at a hotel bar with me. At the time, I didn't get it, but I totally get it now. And I make it cool for the team to check out whenever they want to. So let's talk about those emergencies that wake you up in the middle of the night. I'm not talking about your last on-call shift. I'm talking about babies. What is this nightmare? Actually, what you see on the screen is an illustration of a baby's sleep patterns in its first year. Absolutely brutal. This might be your teammate's sleep pattern too. But unlike an on-call rotation, there's no policy about rest and recovery time from these night shifts. You probably have no idea that it's happening. I remember one of my colleagues saying that having kids is basically giving up sleep for about 5 years. And I didn't take him seriously at the time. I didn't understand. That is until my sister and my friends started having babies of their own. At the beginning of my career, I genuinely did not know anything about babies. And I was completely blind to what the home life might look like for a new parent. I was at an age where I could stay out all night drinking and still make it to work the next day. I was just in a very different phase of my life. My niece and nephew indirectly taught me an important lesson about management. You parents are exhausted. And due to the lack of diversity in our industry, unfortunately, I've only managed new fathers, who are one half of a heterosexual couple. And with that come certain norms about gender roles. Having met a 2-week-old baby, I genuinely have no idea how so many fathers return to work after just 2 weeks of paternity leave. It must be so hard. And as a woman, I hate the thought of mothers alone in parenting while the father is at work. Mama was doing the night shift so that dad can work in the day. In my head, I'm imagining these conversations at the kitchen table where one parent's workload is making it difficult to share the load at home. And I really, genuinely hate the thought of it. I can't change policies about paternity leave, but that doesn't mean I can't do anything. I can make sure that project assignments and expectations of new parents are fair, and where possible, the hours are flexible. I can have conversations with people at the start of high-pressure projects about whether their home life would be impacted by taking on that type of work, and I can make it okay to say no. Family life and work life have collided this year more than ever. And we've been quite lucky as part of my team that we've always been very remote friendly. We are distributed all over Europe. And we've not have to make a huge amount of adjustments in terms of how we come together as a team. Before 2020, we've often enjoyed cameos of babies and children in our Zoom meetings. They've always been welcome. And I love that it's become really normal for us now to have kids on Zoom. This year has really changed a lot of things about our working lives. Crying in retros is very 2020. And I've done a lot of crying at work this year. I'm sure many of us have. But when I look back at the early days of managing people, for me, what I vividly remember is all the tears. I was inexperienced and ambitious. And like many people, my first management job was managing people who were doing a job that I understood really well, a job that I used to do, a job that I considered myself expert at. So all I needed to do as a new manager was teach them how to do my old job exactly how I used to do it. Easy, right? Of course not, because nobody wants to be told how to do their job. This led to enormous frustration on both sides, and to be honest, a really painful and destructive relationship with some of the people that I was managing at that time. I wasn't thinking about what the team needed from me. I was focused solely on what I needed from them, and I thought I knew best. I learned some really hard lessons then, and I should have known better. If people are in tears in your one-to-ones, they aren't listening to what you're saying. I wish I could go back in time and just shut the fuck up and listen to them. Everyone has their bad days, and some days are absolute nightmares. Sometimes you're emotionally flooded and all the feelings can't be contained and they leak out through your eyes. Very rarely is any meeting so important that you can't take 5 or 10 minutes to walk away and let that tsunami of feelings subside. I know we all care about our jobs, but I promise you, in those situations, work can wait. I said crying in retros is so 2020, and I really mean it. The teams you lead will go through changes, challenges, struggles, and hardships. We do so much better when we acknowledge it, talk about it, and support each other through it. Speaking honestly and letting people know how you feel and being vulnerable is brave, not weak. And it can help create space for other people to do the same. I always think of myself as quite a strong person, but this year totally broke me, and I didn't even try to hide it. I didn't have enough energy left to even attempt to. As a manager, you're allowed to be a messy, emotional being too, and sometimes it can help let people know that they're not alone. I always say that if it's not fun, it's not worth it. Obviously, it can't always be fun, and we are so lucky in our cloud native corner of the tech industry that there are no shortage of opportunities if we're not happy where we are. If we're not having fun and enjoying working with each other, there's always somewhere else to go. It's just not worth putting up with. I always want everyone to have a really good time. I think I'm fun to work with, but actually sometimes that can come across as being not serious enough. I always say that my greatest strength is also my greatest weakness. I really believe that we spend too much time at work to put up walls between us and the people that we work with, to be someone different from 9 to 5 in a day. I'm not interested in that. I have no filter and I can't put on a work face. And it's a blessing and a curse. Oh, and I'm not afraid to cry on Zoom. Despite all of these mistakes over the years, I think I'm doing okay right now. One of my team told me this week that this is the best team he's ever worked on, and that filled me with enormous pride. And that's what it's all about. I might mess up sometimes, but at the end of the day, that really doesn't matter because it's not about me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hannah. This was a good reminder for us that we should keep nightmares in the underworld and just be kind in the real one.
Absolutely.
I don't see any questions. If there are questions, we may try to take a minute and address them, but if not, you can reach out to Hannah on Slack or on probably Twitter, email, you know.
I'm on Twitter. Yep. There's not many Hannah Foxwells, you can find me.
Cool. So I'd like to say thanks to our sponsors. They are Container Solutions, Equinix, Cycloid, Giant Swarm, Instana, and Kinvolk. We're taking a short break on this track right now. But you can find lots of stuff going on in the event on the More button on your interface umbrella. We have music, yoga, DJ, pumpkin carving, cocktail masterclass. Wow. So click that More button and go see what's up, and I'll see you again in a few minutes.